Blog Talk Radio.
Woke up this morning with light in my eyes, and then realized it was still dark outside. It was a light coming down from the sky. I don't know who or why. Must be those strangers that come every night, those saucer-shaped lights.
Come on, baby, don't you wanna Good evening, Paranormal Geeks. Good evening. Is April 30th. And if I read my calendar right, it's the last day of the month. And I see some of the northwestern states from us are going to get some snow tomorrow. Those of you that I've talked to on a pretty regular basis, not only just on the radio here, but on the phone, I've been calling for a small ice age, and read in the news that scientists are calling for a mini ice age, something that I called a while back. But anyway, I'm no weatherman. I'm just a paranormal investigator. Speaking of paranormal investigating, my team Chips, along with Into the Night Paranormal, IPRA, Expedition Apparition, and River Tim Vale. I am so sorry, I cannot remember the name of your team. River Valley Paranormal out of the west side of Illinois, and let's see, an independent. See if I left anybody out. An independent investigator, Veronica Scherer. We went down to Ashmore Estates on Saturday night in the rain, had a good investigation, met the new owners. Ashmore Estates was sold at an auction on Friday night. I guess it was actually early Saturday morning, and met one of the four owners, a couple of the owners, Saturday night, Robert Nelson. Crap, I'm not going to say his name. Anyway, I'm sorry I cannot remember his name. Seems like a really, really nice guy. There are four different owners of this place now. They really want to keep it open as a haunted attraction, and we'll see how that goes. They all seem very excited about it. On May 11th, they're having a meeting down at Ashmore, and invited anybody that wants to come. It's like a brunch. You bring your own. It's a potluck deal. Bring something to eat. Sit around, talk what we think the ideas of Ashmore should be, or where we'd like to see it going, what their ideas are. And I'm going to be doing a 2-hour remote from there, interviewing some of the guests that are there and the new owners. So that's going to be the 11th at 2 p.m. Central. And that'll be an interesting afternoon. An interesting afternoon for everybody. We are waiting. Seems like it's what we do a lot here on one of our guests tonight, and I'm going to hit her up on a message and see if I'm just getting flashbacks of last week's show, which I want to apologize again for. It was just a bad day all around on Blog Talk. I heard they had some problems, so system-wide they had problems. I want to introduce my. It's not really my co-host. She's going to be the one answering calls tonight. Christina, you want to come on the air here? And,
hi, everyone.
And would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, hi, everybody. I am Bishop Christina Rake. I am a paranormal investigator, psychic medium, and clergy person. And I'm tech-tarded. I don't know how to do any of this, but Jim taught me, and so we'll do our best.
Yeah. And you also have a show here on Blog Talk Radio.
I do, on Sunday mornings. It's a Bible study and worship service. We're a liberal church, so welcoming and affirming. And then on Friday nights, I often will do a sort of psychic medium show, call-in show. So this Friday, 7:30 Central Standard Time, I'll be on here, and you can call in and or check it out, get the call-in number, and talk to me, ask me questions. It'd be great. I love talking to all of you.
Yeah, I've stuck on there a couple times and listened to your show, and it reminded me I've never had a female minister before, or priest or pastor or deacon or whatever, and I really enjoy your show. It was worth waking up. Well, I didn't quite make it up there at 7:30. I think I got there about 8:15. But good.
I moved the time
show.
back for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
You've been on a couple investigations with. I mentioned IPRA, and you were on an investigation with them at Casa Madrid in Chicago, weren't you?
Yes. In fact, the episode's on YouTube, and it's astounding. The guys did a great job on filming and on editing. It's like watching a TV show. And what they did was I showed up in Joliet, and they blindfolded me. And I did not know where I was going. And it was an interesting conversation with my husband when I said, honey, I'm going to go see these two guys, and they're going to blindfold me and drive me to an undisclosed location in the city. But it was great. In fact, I'm on the episode for the first couple of minutes, and blindfolded, they're walking me around. The best part of the investigation for me was using a restroom completely blindfolded. Thank God everything's usually in the same place. So,
that's always a good thing.
But they got some incredible evidence, just some incredible video evidence, and I highly encourage everyone to go to YouTube. Their channel is Believe, an online paranormal experience, and type in Casa Madrid and check it out. It's a fantastic episode. I can't say enough about how they did it and what came out of it.
Yeah, it was a good one. I would like to get my team up there, and if I remember right, it's not really that expensive to get up.
No, it wasn't too bad. We all chipped in, so I don't know what the total was. I wasn't allowed to know anything. I knew nothing. And then unfortunately I couldn't stay for the investigation because I had church the next morning.
But you did very well, if I remember right. You were right on a bunch of things that happened there.
Yes, one of the most interesting grabs, I was there for 2 hours, and there were tons of stuff that later turned out to be true, but in order to have a really good cohesive episode, they just chose particular things about the history. And one of the things that no one knew, a lot of people say, if mediums can do anything, then it's telepathy. Well, when I was there, I picked up on the name of a guy named Patrick, who was really angry about being dead. That's all I knew. And doing investigations through the Chicago Tribune archives, we stumbled upon a tiny little blurb about a company called Expedite Corporation that had that building, and they managed out of there. Well, they sent 4 men to their deaths. There was actually a trial because they sent them to to check out a tunnel in another area of the state, and the tunnel was unsafe, and the corporation didn't check it, and it collapsed and killed the 4 men. Wow. There was a trial. One of the men's name was Patrick Elbine. And
wow.
That, for me, I'm skeptical even of myself. That's why I insist on being blindfolded. When you grab a name or date or something that's later confirmed, that's something.
Yes. Yeah, that is. That's the ultimate. The ultimate right there. That's, when I was down there at Ashmore, I got some names, and I was told, I think it was yesterday, or it might have been last night, that my names weren't familiar with that area. It wasn't on the records that they have. So I don't know where they came from. I could have just been playing an old movie over in my mind and made them up. I don't know, but my names didn't work out, didn't pan out. But that's always very good validation.
Yeah, and you know what? Look at the relationship that the name I grabbed had to the place. I mean, that's not where he died. It's not where he was buried, but those are the people who got him killed, and he was really ticked off.
I guess yeah. So it doesn't have to be direct that they had to die there or buried underneath the floorboards. It could be just a connection like that, where he worked for that company and he's still really upset.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so, I'd encourage you to check out some alternate history, and, your names might actually be a part of it, and just a part of the history no one knows. And who would have thought to look into that? One of the other hits I got was I kept saying heart attack, and heaviness in the chest. And it was just, my chest was killing me, and I kept telling them, did someone have a heart attack here? Well, one of the owners got shot in the chest 4 times in front of the place. And it was stuff like that. One of the weird things that I can do is if I walk past an object when I'm blindfolded, I can, quote-unquote, see it. And this happened all through the building. We'd walk into a room, and I'd be like, all right, there's just dripping, ugly blue paint thrown on that wall. And that's exactly what was there. And then the episode, there's a part where I'm like, a 10-speed bike just popped into my head. And they're like, yeah, there's one behind you. It's just goofy stuff you pick up on.
Have you ever worked with John and David before?
I'm sorry, say the name again?
Have you ever worked with John and David before?
No. John and David, I knew them through Facebook, but that was my first time working with them.
Okay, so how did you feel getting into a vehicle blindfolded, not knowing these people, and letting them drive you halfway across Chicago?
Well, the lucky part is that, being psychic, you can usually get a good read. I met John first, and I'd met them at Scarefest in October and talked with them, and I'd known John before then. So it was really, I was meeting David more for the first time then. And but you know what? They're just such great guys that the second I met everybody, I had no concerns.
That's good. Yeah, that was my concern. I was like, wow, I don't know if I'd let them, after I met them, let me blindfold and drive all over the central Chicago.
Well, I did make them take my car, and I have a tracker on my phone that my husband can see, so...
James Bond on him there.
Yeah, exactly. He's IT.
Yeah, that's good. I needed him last week to figure out what was wrong with the damn show. Excuse my French.
No, yeah.
Now, that place has quite a history by itself. It was a speakeasy, and they had rooms. Didn't they have rooms for prostitution and stuff down there? And also had some Capone elements.
Yes, the guy who ran the speakeasy, Rocco, was an enforcer for Capone's arm of the family in Chicago. And there was actually a room I went into, and I was just like, oh, my God, there's just death and pain here. And it was where he extracted information or beat the people into payment. But there's a heaviness in some of it. But it was fascinating when you learn the history. The mob owned it for a period of time, and then it was a nightclub, and then it started passing from hand to hand. So, but when the mob owned it, oh boy. And you know what was funny? When the mob owned it, one of the things that kept coming up was fire, and another psychic said the same thing, fire. Found out reading the Tribune, and this isn't in the episode, that a woman got her car stuck on the train tracks that are less than a block, like half a block from the Casa Madrid. I looked at a map, and the train hit her car and derailed and caught fire, and all of the people were trapped in these two derailed cars right outside the Casa Madrid.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Man, a lot of energy there.
Yeah, exactly. The woman and her kid, grandson, perfectly fine. Just the car was fine. She got out, and what happened was one train hit the car and turned it sideways, and another train was coming in the opposite direction at the same time. And when the two trains hit the car pretty much just rammed them both right off the rails.
Wow. I think that, let's see, we have about 5 minutes until our guest calls in, our main guest calls in. What do you think we try giving away one of the tickets to wherever that is we're giving the tickets away for?
Well, why don't I sneak behind the covers here, and I'll start taking calls for you when you're ready.
Okay. I'll tell give out the question, and we will see what we can do here. All right. Well, thank you very much for filling in tonight, and we'll be talking to you a little bit later.
Excellent. Thanks, Jim. Nice to see everybody. Take care.
Yep. Okay. We're going to do the first ticket giveaway, and let's see. This is from Mid-South. It's in Louisville, Kentucky, on August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. When you win the ticket, all you do is you'll go down to the where they sell the tickets. When you get there, give them your name, and they will have one ticket waiting for you at the will call. And what we are going to do is take the fourth caller that answers this question right. Show before last. I'm not going to tell anybody what the subject was or anything. Well, I guess I have to. It was about UFOs. There were a couple that was abducted by the UFO. The third caller that gives us the male and the female's name who were abducted in this will win this ticket to Mid-South. And I wish I had the music to Jeopardy to play right here. Oh, I guess you might need a number. 1-347-826-9996 is the call-in phone number. 1-347-826-9996. The two people that were abducted in the 1962 abduction in New Jersey that became very famous. Very famous back in the day. It was the first one that was actually investigated. They went under regression and hypnotized and did the what's the other thing called? Lie detector, all this stuff. They went into all this stuff. Is this too tough of a question? Okay. Well, let me think of okay. We'll do one for tonight's guest for tonight's show. Answer this question. Our guest, of course, is Mr. Jeff Mudgett. His great-great-grandfather, he's known by his alias. He's probably most famous for his alias, H.H. Holmes. Can anybody tell me what H.H. Holmes' real name is? And we'll take the third caller there too.
Jim, I've got someone for your UFO question. Are you ready?
Well, they're not the third one.
Oh, hold on a second.
But I'll tell you what, I just asked another. Yeah, I just asked another question, so we're going to go with this other question. Okay, they hung up. I'm going to be right back, folks. Hang on. Okay. We got that taken care of. I guess since I changed questions, I had to tell what the new answer is. So, third question, the third person to call in to tell me what Henry H.H. Holmes' real name was, you will win the tickets. And we do have some callers in. We do have some people calling in. We'll see how this works. And I want to thank you all for bearing with us on this. I almost was thinking about giving one away on Facebook today, just people that were listening to give one away, listening, that were out there in Cyberland. See if anybody would know a quick trivia question. But I didn't do that. The third person. What was Henry or H.H. Holmes' real name? So, da-da-da, da-da. I could sing, I guess. No, you don't want that. You don't want that. Well, one thing I do want to say about tonight's, okay, I'll tell you what. Jeff is on the line. He is here, and I'm going to go ahead and bring him over, and we'll go ahead and get this evening started. But I have a little introduction that I wrote today for this evening, and it goes a little something like this. In 1893, the city of Chicago was preparing for the Columbian Exposition, also known as the World's Fair. Lurking in the shadows of Chicago was a man that planned to use this event to lure unsuspecting victims into his murder castle. This man was, and I can't tell you this because it's the answer to the trivia question right now, but he's also known as Henry H. Holmes.
Jim, I do have a caller with an answer to the question. I don't know if you're all set. This caller has answered both questions correctly.
Well, heck. Well, they only get one ticket. But let me just have them hold on just 1 minute.
Okay, I got you. Hold on.
I'm going to get Jeff introduced here, and then we'll grab the caller. Thank you. Tonight's guest is the great-great-grandson of Holmes, and this is Mr. Jeff Mudgett. Welcome to Paranormal Geeks Radio, Jeff. How you doing this evening?
Jim, it's a pleasure to be on your show tonight. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to have you on as a guest for quite a while, and really appreciate you being on the show. We're giving away tickets to Mid-South, and we do have a winner to the first question here. So we're going to bring that person on and see who they are and congratulate them. So if you don't mind, hold on just 1 second here. Good evening. Who am I talking to tonight?
Hi, Jim. You are talking to Darcy. I met you last weekend at Ashmore Estates.
Hey, how are you?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm good. Have you dried out yet?
Yes, finally did. It was a little wet there last weekend.
And you actually got to call in this week and win.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes, it is. Well, you have won one ticket. It's $50 value to Mid-South. And like I said at the beginning, all you have to do is when you get down there, go to the table, give them your name, and they will have the ticket. It's for the whole weekend. So if you go to their website, you'll get all the information, everything that you get to do with that ticket. And those are courtesy of Keith H. He donated those for us to give away, and we'll be giving away another one later this evening.
Okay,
later
great.
In the show.
Thank you so much.
But congratulations. and it was great meeting you this weekend. I hope you had fun.
I did. I had a great time. It's a great location.
It was. It really was. I wanted you to do one more favor.
Okay.
If you could email your name and your phone number.
Okay.
To Paranormal Geeks Radio.
Okay.
At gmail.com.
Okay.
And that way, I have a folder just for you guys, and when we're all done, I will just send this folder to Keith H.
So paranormalgeeksradio@gmail.com. Great. Thank you so much.
Yep. Hey, thank you, and thanks for calling. Oh, wait a minute. What's the answer?
Herman Webster.
Okay, and you said you knew the one from last week, too. You're not going to do anything extra.
Betty, Betty and Barney Hill.
It most certainly was.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Thanks for
You're
playing.
welcome. Sure, great stories.
I know, and we'll catch you on the next investigation.
Great, thank you so much. Have a great show. I'll be listening.
Thank you. You have a good one too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Okay. So that was good. Now we'll get on with the show tonight. Like I say, our guest is Jeff Mudgett, great-great-grandson of Herman Mudgett. Now we can actually say his name. And so tell us a little bit about your great-grandfather.
Yeah, hold on. Jim, I understood Ursula Bielski was going to be on tonight with us. Is she not on tonight?
She never did make it. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I tell you what, I apologize because I waited to call till 6:30 like you instructed me. So I'm not late. I just called when you wanted me to check in.
That's fine. No, don't worry about it. I think we covered it pretty well without her. I think we did okay.
Yeah.
Your great-great-grandfather has quite a history, and would you like to fill in the listeners that don't know a whole lot about him?
Well, he's, basically, there's been a few books written about him. There's going to be some movies made over him. Some other authors have modeled evil characters after him, like Hannibal Lecter. He's probably the most evil genius that ever lived. He was a doctor that performed in Chicago, that went to the University of Michigan Medical School, that murdered hundreds of innocent young people in a building known as the Murder Castle after the police discovered it, with a laboratory and basement for torture, and then the rendering of organs and skeletons for commercial sale to the medical schools around the country. I mean, it's hard to imagine anything more evil than that, is it?
Oh no, yeah, that's straight out of someone's, right out of Stephen King and then some's mind.
And that's exactly the way I try to do it. Stephen King is one of my favorite authors, and if Bloodstains, my book, comes anywhere up close to the thrill that he gave his readers, I'd be excited. But this was real. This wasn't fiction, and it was a man that could have been a Louis Pasteur, Jim. He had an incredible IQ. He could have solved human illness and disease, and instead, with pure choice, decided to be evil. And that's what I want the story. When someone reads my book, there's too much these days, Jim, about excuses for why people murder or commit serial death. This man knew exactly what he was doing. He had a good family life. He wanted to be evil, and I think it's something that needs to be researched a little bit more about our human nature and what the outer boundaries of what we're capable of.
Oh yeah, because it's not just it's not the Twinkie defense, like those brothers in, I think it was California, that shot their parents. They used a sugar defense or something. I can't remember what it was years ago. These people need to be really in-depthly studied, and it sounds like you're on the road to, or you're on the road to doing that, getting people the insight on Mr. Holmes, or on on Mr. Mudgett.
Yeah, I hope so. That's been my purpose all along.
And how did you first find out about your great-great-grandfather? I know I hear stories from my parents, and of course, luckily, they're nothing like this. But how did you first find out about your great-great-grandfather?
Yeah, it was a secret that my grandfather kept from the family, and we discovered it at a family dinner. I write about it in the book. When my grandmother became fascinated with our genetics, and she hired a genealogical company to run it all down. This was long before ancestry.com and the web. And when these professionals, she thought we were related to General Robert E. Lee, if you can believe that. When these professionals came back to her and said, you know, that old saying about letting sleeping dogs lie, well, that one really applies here. And my grandmother wasn't that type of person. She pushed on, and then they finally admitted that this criminal from Arkansas, they tried to soft pedal it a little bit about stealing horses, things like that. Well, right. when it came out, the story came out over that family dinner, and we started pushing my grandfather, who H.H. Holmes was my grandfather's grandfather. I'm his great-great-grandson. So when we pushed my grandfather, he finally admitted the truth that he had kept from the whole family, including my grandmother, who wouldn't have married him had she known. That's the way it was back then. And that stigma that attached to evil things like this, we tend to get over more now. But I explain how in the book how he explained to the family in a rather loud, yelling voice that name would never be used in his house again, and he stormed out of the room.
Oh, wow. Wow. So then when did you, so that's when you were first exposed to it. When did you decide to do your own investigating into it and get your feet wet into it?
Well, that's kind of the type of person I was, Jim. I was a practicing attorney in California, and I loved research. I loved to seek out the truth. I started putting my own work into this, reading as many books about the monster that I could, running down newspaper articles, anything that discussed him. And what I started determining, Jim, was that most of it was lies or incorrect. It had been based, most of the information about Holmes, strangely enough, had been based on material that he had provided the writers, either through articles while he was in prison awaiting execution, or with the book he wrote that he was paid quite a bit of money for before they allegedly hanged him. So when I started realizing the man he was, not only was he the most prolific serial killer that ever lived, but he was the most prolific liar that ever lived. And when all these books, when you come to realize this material comes from him, you know, I started throwing it away and doing my own research, traveling cross country, finding as many facts as I could. And strangely enough, as you probably know, when you start digging into true crime mystery like this, the facts just start bubbling up, and the harder you dig, the more you get, and the more before that were coincidences, all of a sudden, you know what? You scratch your head, Jim, and they start making a lot of sense. And so I started trying to write a book about what the truth really was.
Yeah, because I bet you there is a whole lot of stuff out there that's just not true at all, and especially when you have someone that with his IQ, he'd want himself to sound as great as he ever could be, and then some. Now he moved to so he went to school in Michigan, correct?
University of Michigan, yep.
University of Michigan, and he was actually a doctor. Is that where he studying medicine up there?
Well, yeah, he graduated School of Medicine as a fully licensed doctor.
And then he moved down to Chicago.
He moved down to Chicago. Well, at the time, Jim, Chicago was the explosion of American culture. That's where everybody was going to make a fortune, and industry and culture. And it was the place to be, and that's why when Holmes found out that the World's Fair was going to be there, which was the major event in the world, and there were going to be millions of tourists from all over the world going to visit, he started planning this hotel/murder castle to accommodate the visitors and tourists that he knew the world would lose track of and would make easy prey for his experiments.
Yeah, because he designed this. He had a big hand in designing this place, didn't he?
Oh, he designed it himself. He hired many contractors, and his scheme, Jim, was that he would put one to work on a particular component of the castle, and then before they could obtain too much knowledge about the overall plan, he would fire them and hire another one to do the next. He was, if you looked into a legal dictionary, Jim, under the word premeditation, it should be a picture of H.H. Holmes. That's, his entire life was playing chess, and that's why the police had very little chance against him.
Yeah, because since you're absolutely right with the premeditated part, because he had this all planned when he found out that the World's Fair was going to be there, and I guess this house had hidden passageways, hidden stairways, a doorway that would, if you opened it and kept walking, you'd walk right outside into you're a couple stories high and you'd fall into an alley. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I explain all the components in the book, and actually, fiction put a young lady on the train from downtown Chicago on the way to the World's Fair, have her spend the night in the hotel, have her gain Holmes's attraction. They asphyxiate her as the way they used to do to victims. They used to put him into a special room, one that he would select. His assistants would have gas enter the room. They either murdered her there, or if he wanted to use her more fully as alive, they would asphyxiate her and then send her down the chute as you described. It's a grease chute, and his assistants would catch her on a gurney and strap her down and prepare her for surgery, and then the doctor would go down into the basement and, straight out of a Hollywood movie or a Nazi Germany concentration camp, he would conduct his experiments and torture.
Oh, yeah, and I can see Vincent Price playing this guy back in the day, back 40 years ago, 50 years ago. He'd have been a good...
Vincent Price could do it. I always think a young Anthony Hopkins would be awesome, but Vincent Price would be good.
Yeah. Did he ever, now, I'm going to ask this question. I know the answer to it, but he got married, let's see. He got married back in, 1894 to a young lady in Denver. No, you've got that story's off. He married a woman. His first wife, my great-great-grandmother, the legal wife, was Clara Lovering in New Hampshire. He had a child with her. That child is why I'm here talking with you today, obviously. And that makes sense. Yeah.
He abandoned her and the child forever, and went on to Chicago, and she stayed in New Hampshire. But then he had about five. I think he had 5 other wives, Jim, and probably 200 or 300 mistresses. He was an incredible womanizer. Had movie star looks. He dressed to the nines, very elegant, very classy, and the women were quite fond of him. He used to his favorite Jim would be to meet a couple with money that had life insurance. He'd seduce the wife, murder the husband, have her change the life insurance policy, make him the majority beneficiary, and then she would disappear, obviously murdered, and then Holmes would collect these insurance benefits. And at the time, about 1890, Jim, he was making $300,000 or $400,000 a year.
Wow, and That's huge. What's huge now was he was a millionaire back then to today's standards.
Yeah, many times over.
Yeah. Now I just posted your website in the chat. And if you guys in chat click on that, you will you'll pull up the front web page to Bloodstains. That's the name of Jeff's book, and you'll see to the right a picture of H.H. Holmes, and it morphs into a drawing of a pretty famous mass murderer from across the sea. And you don't come right out and say that H.H. Holmes was Jack the Ripper, but there are a lot of things that just kind of fall into place that make him a real good suspect for being Jack the Ripper. Is that correct?
You know, I went on Chicago Fox News last night on Chicago, Jim, and I told them we've solved who Jack the Ripper was. It is H.H. Holmes. We haven't proven it absolutely yet, but we solved it. And I'm glad you brought that up because, Bloodstains is the story about how I decide whether the sins of my fathers attach genetically through the ages. It's not about Jack the Ripper. It's not about Jack the Ripper. And I want to make sure your listeners know that because many buy the book thinking they're buying a book about Jack the Ripper. There's one chapter in the book. It was quite general, the chapter I made, but what happened, Jim, is as I continued researching after publishing the book, we started getting more and more contacts from people that had theories about Holmes being Jack the Ripper, and I started looking into it. The drawing you mentioned there came after I published the book, but most people don't understand this, Jim, but there were 13 eyewitness accounts of what Jack the Ripper looked like in London. Well, in 2006, the BBC and the Scotland Yard took those 13 accounts and put that into their computer that creates schematics for criminal identification. That schematic you're seeing there is the Scotland Yard schematic. I haven't touched that at all. It's not Photoshopped, nothing. Now, what I did do was I took a black and white photo of H.H. Holmes and I hired a professional to meld that into that schematic. And if you take a look at that, or your listeners do, you'll see that the characteristics of the face are quite shockingly similar. And I had an expert, a detective that used to do this for a living, describe how to do it. You don't look at the basic face and eyes. What you look at is the nose structure, the ear structures, the lines under the eyes, maybe the chin cleft, those type of things. And, Jim, if you take a look and just look at the structure of the noses, this detective told me that's the closest he's ever seen in a 20-year career of doing this.
Yeah, if you just sit here and watch it like I'm doing 3 or 4 or 5 times, just let it go over and over. You can pick out different things that just fit in so perfect. And the nose is the big one.
Yeah, and I had him on. I was on a show with this detective in Virginia. And he went through it for the audience, each piece that he would have done. And he would have had no problem, he said, walking down to the magistrate or judge and having them issue a warrant for the arrest of this man based on that schematic.
Wow. Yeah, that's good. That's very good. And Holmes had, he would get people in there and into his, he'd rent, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't he had apartments built into this where he would rent out apartments too, didn't he, into his murder castle?
Oh yeah, there was a 20-room hotel on the 2nd floor, a beautiful place, and then his living quarters were on the 3rd floor. The main floor was a pharmacy, the lobby to the hotel, maybe a bar, and then down the stairs was the basement where you had furnaces to he knew, Jim, that the problem with murder is and has always been the rendering of the waste after the death, because eventually those bodies add up and you can't escape them being detected by the authorities. So when he built this hotel, Jim, he started with furnaces, with acid baths, lime soaks, those type of things that would allow him to eliminate even the bones after the murder was completed. That's how much he planned ahead.
Wow. This is just, it's an amazing story about this guy. And I read one account where he met a lady, her name was Minnie Williams, and she was from Texas, and she had real estate money from Texas. And they started traveling around and were friends or lovers, whatever they were. And they met like I mentioned earlier, this Georgiana Yoke in Denver, and then just married her. The lady that he was running around with, just became like a partner. This Minnie Williams was also responsible for some murders too, wasn't she?
I'm not familiar with those facts. There are people that have gone that direction. My story is more about trying to run down the more basic facts about Holmes, because you run out of space in a book when you try to put the whole story of this man. And I can only tell you this, Jim. I don't even think we've told half the story yet. There's still half of it out there to be discovered.
Now, how did you feel when you first found out about this? That you were related to this mass murderer?
At first, I did the normal male thing and laughed it off. I didn't choose him as a great-great-grandfather. I had nothing to do with it, obviously. My father had nothing to do with it. My family are all good people. But then I started noticing some of the idiosyncrasies that I had, Jim. The more I discovered and learned his character and what he was, I started realizing that many of the things people described him as being and doing, I had little edges of similarities in my character, not like a murder or anything like that, just connections to character and personality, and that bothered me, and that discovery I went on became an obsession to where it became quite fearful having this in your background, right up on your shoulder sometimes, and wondering what you were going to become yourself if things didn't work out for the best, and that's what I try to describe in the book. I try to let my readers step into my shoes, Jim, and ask themselves what they would have done had they discovered this evil thing in their background, and then being the first to discover some of these facts, like Jack the Ripper and the other things we can discuss tonight. But it was not easy. It was not easy at all.
I bet. I can't even imagine. The only claim to fame I have with my family, I live about 130 miles south of Chicago. I live just north of Champaign, Illinois. And, my claim to fame is I had a great-great uncle that was the first murder victim in Champaign County, and his murderer was defended by Abraham Lincoln. And my uncle was killed over chickens. This guy was stealing my great-great-uncle's chickens, and my uncle caught him and shot him, and that's my life. That's what I have to deal with. I can't imagine. This got to be something else. What did your family feel like, or what did your family say when you decided you were going to delve into this and write this book?
They were pretty much dead set against it at first, and now they back me up, and they when I've explained to them that, listen, our family's been running away from this stigma, for 100 years, over 120 years. And it's better to come out with our own truth, because you've got Warner Brothers making a movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio. There's another Hollywood studio going to make a movie about H.H. Holmes. We can talk about later, but many books are coming out. He's getting to be quite the celebrity figure in history, and I told my family, listen, I want to be the one that puts it out front first, and let's get our version out before it's impossible to state the truth.
But before the Hollywood writers get a hold of it and hack it to pieces and everything, you get the true story out.
Yeah, that's right. Well, they're already working on The Devil in the White City, he's the subject of that book, which sold millions, and Warner Brothers is doing that, and Leonardo DiCaprio is going to star my great-great-grandfather as the killer.
Wow. That's quite an honor.
Yeah, they're spending, I guess, $150, $200 million. It's a major motion picture.
Yeah. Now this house, the castle, is long been torn down. What's its place now?
Yeah, it's at 63rd and Wallace in Inglewood, and if I don't know if you're familiar with Chicago at all. That's a rough section of town. It's south of downtown, and I always describe it to people as when the police get out of their car to go buy a pack of cigarettes, they have SWAT gear on. What happened was the federal government bought the murder castle and the property from, I still haven't determined who was the owner at that time, but they bought from the owners in about 1935, 36, 37. They razed the building, and they put up a United States Post Office, which is still there today in operation.
And is there anything? I know there have been a couple of paranormal investigations there. I also understand that some of the workers there just do not like working down in the basement or going down into the basement at all of this place. They went down. Fox News had it on last night. The old custodian took Dane Placco from Fox News down into the basement, and they went to inspect some of the original brick tunnels that are still there from the basement. If you go to the Fox News website, you can see the video. It's very entertaining. And I also describe in the book when I went down into the basement at the post office. When I finished reading the books about Holmes, Jim, I realized that none of the other authors had actually gone down into the basement where this murder capsule had been, which bothered me as an author. That's something I'd like to, I kind of like to put my fingers into stuff. And I write about getting permission on one day years ago, and we went down into the basement. It had been abandoned because the employees, as you said, believed it haunted. They did not use it. And we went down with a man, and I described feeling. I'm not a paranormal type or a supernatural believer, but right.
I'll tell you this, Jim. When I went down the steps that day and came back up an hour later, I had felt some type of energy. Hard to describe what that energy is, as you know. There were no voices, there were no ghosts walking around, but there was an evil feeling from hundreds of tortured souls who maybe were still locked in that basement, and I could feel it. And I tried to describe it in the book, hopefully in a way that people don't think I was crazy. But it's there, and there has been, like you say, other paranormal investigations there, and everyone's a big word. Most all people that go down there, especially psychics or people that have that capability, they think it's a horrible, terrible place. Harper's Magazine went down once and wrote that if ever the paranormal or supernatural was going to be proven, it was going to be at 63rd and Wallace in that basement.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. And yet still people are going in and out of it every day, and there's all this energy and all this sorrow still down in the basement. And, it'd be nice to get that released, get those people home.
Yeah, the magazine also called it the place that God allowed evil to run amok, and that quote has stuck with me for all the time I've worked on it. And we did a memorial about a year ago out on the grass or next to the post office. The federal government allowed us the permission, and we had some people come up and make some comments and statements. We probably had 100 people there. It was filmed on one of the news shows, and it was a very satisfying experience for me. I was in tears, and but you could feel that the good that everyone there wished on the people that had met their demise there horribly was a good thing. And I'll see if I can get you a copy of the video if you'd like to see it.
Okay, yeah, I'll stick it up on our website. Going through your Bloodstains.com, on the second page there's a statement by Herman Mudgett at the very bottom. It says, "I was born with the devil in me, and he has been with me ever since." I'm going to assume that was probably during his last days on Earth, before he was executed.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Well, go ahead. Go ahead and go.
Yeah, there's some argument about that quote. I think he wrote that while he was in prison awaiting execution. There's a couple of authors that think that was canned by a couple of our reporters from the New York Times. It tends to look like his writing to me, Jim. I believe it was his, and it's something that he would have done trying to fool his captives, considering his next move. So it's something he would have thought, making that choice we discussed earlier about whether he was going to be good or be evil in his life.
Now, how was he finally caught? How did all this come? I think we might be jumping ahead here, but how was he finally caught?
Yeah, he was arrested for a life insurance matter, and then the charges were amended for the murder of the 3 children of his assistant, the Tetzel children. They were murdered in Indiana and Toronto, I believe. I didn't put much effort into those. That had been written up pretty heavily by other authors. But none of the murders he committed in Chicago at the murder castle, he was never tried for any of them. That place was discovered after his trial for the murder of the 3 children.
Oh, so they didn't even know about this.
They didn't even know how good his entire plan and strategy was in his elimination of the waste. That's how well it worked. He had tunnels, Jim, that are still there in the basement of the post office that if the police had come in through the front door in the lobby, he could have crawled out these tunnels and escaped the other side of the street. I mean, that's how much he was thinking ahead. He never had to use them.
My God. Yeah, I know Pinkerton, or I read somewhere that Pinkerton was involved in investigating or chasing him down, and he was quite he had everything covered, so he has all his bases covered.
Yeah, Pinkerton was, they were working against him, but then he also hired them to work for him when, I don't know if you're familiar, when he was allegedly executed by rope on the neck by hanging. It's my contention, and I intend to prove one day, that a guard was hanged in his place. The reason that I started on that plan and strategy was that after the alleged execution, Jim, there was something called the Holmes curse, which the New York Times wrote about. The New York Times wrote about this. Is on in front page articles about the 30 or 40 people that had been associated with his arrest, the trial, and the execution that had either met death or terrible misfortune. And I knew this was too fishy to be called a curse. There was something involved here. So instead of just assuming, as other authors have done, that this curse happened, we tore it down backwards. And as we moved through it, you could see it fit the way he thought, it fit the way he would have done something, and it fit an escape from the execution. And then after he escaped, Jim, he went and visited these people that had irritated him and made his life, a distraction during the trial and the arrest. So I write about it in the book, about the escape. We haven't proven it yet, but we've got one thing. That's one of the greatest things about the book, that one day we'll be able to prove that absolutely, because we're going to get permission to exhume the remains in Pennsylvania. We're going to, I'm going to give tissue, and then they're going to compare the DNA with the remains of the grave with mine, and we'll be able to prove that it wasn't his.
Wow. Well, yeah, because he had the tons of money to buy somebody off, or buy another guard off to play, to do whatever he needed to do to get out of there. And that's a great theory. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and you when you go backwards on it, Jim, you see that he paid the judge off, that there wasn't they never examined the body after. He was allowed to be hanged with a hood. He was dropped immediately after. They were dropped into a coffin which was covered in concrete immediately. Then hauled by a mule team to the graveyard where a hole was waiting, and then the coffin in concrete was laid down in the hole, and then that hole was filled with concrete, and then Pinkerton guards he had hired before the execution to monitor the hardening of that concrete for 2 or 3 days. They worked for him when he was allegedly dead. And when you think about it, here's a man who had little interest in hydrocarbons after death. He didn't believe in life after death and God and the devil. This was done so that before he was executed, he was offered a huge amount of money, Jim, by some universities for his brain. They wanted to study this evil genius's brain. He refused that, obviously.
Right.
But he knew that he knew if he had just been put into the ground like a normal cadaver, they would have robbed it. They would have dug him up and taken the brain. So in concrete, with these Pinkerton guards monitoring the hardening, he was sure that the body was safe. And then once it was hard, back then in those days, they couldn't do anything about it.
Well, heck, the way they did this, I mean, with the concrete ready to go and the hole ready to go and pouring concrete in on top of that, I mean, they took more precautions with him than they did with Abraham Lincoln, because he had his body almost stolen twice.
Exactly. And when you stop and take a look at all the facts involved, they become what others assumed were just his craziness, that he was being silly on the verge of death. No. This was a man planning his escape, and we're going to prove it.
Yeah. Wow. That's very, very interesting. I like that. I'll tell you what, we're going to take a quick break, because usually about an hour into the show, my phone will disconnect, and I have to call back in. So I'm going to try to get a preemptive phone call in here before I disconnect. So we're going to take like maybe a 5-8 minute break here, and we'll come back and we'll pick this up, and we'll see if maybe if you have any ideas about what he did after his great escape. So we're going to take a break here. Listen to let's see, might be a little Jethro Tull. I like Jethro Tull from one of my favorite albums, Thick as a Brick. So we'll be back in about 10 minutes.
All right, Jim.
Guys, enjoy, and we'll be back in a little bit.
Going to start with one that you may well know. Cast your minds back, if you will, to 1972 or thereabouts, and spot the tune. Really don't mind if you stick this one now. My words better whisper, you definitely shout. I may make you feel, but I can't make you think. Your sperm's in the gutter, your love's in the singing. Yeah. Saw you right, your sounds open, the deals, and you make all your animal deals, and your wise men don't know how it feels to be thick as a brick. And the sandcastle that you wrong swept away. Hey, in the tidal destruction, the moral melee. The elastic retreat brings the close of play. Hey, and the last wave uncovers the new fangled way. But your new shoes are worn in the heels, and your suntan is rapidly healed, and your wise men don't know how it feels to be thick as a brick. The love that I'm feeling is so far away. I'm a bad dream that I just had today. And you shake your head, yeah. You said it's a shame. Ripping down them bed to fight. That of black heads on his shoulders, that they pays himself in the dice. But make a man of him, but you turn gray. But teach him to play Monopoly, how to sing in the rain. The poets and the painters casting shadows on the water as the sun gleams on the infantry returning from the sea. The doer and the thinker, no allowance for the others. The failing light illuminates the mercenaries' creed. The home fire burning, the kettle almost boiling, with the master of the house is far away. The horse is stamping, their warm rain clouding in the sharp and frosty morning of the day. And the poet lifts his hand while the soldier gives his song. And the youngest of the family is moving with authority, building castles by the sea. He tells the party time to watch them all the sun. Oh, 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 oh. saw you riding yourselves over the fields, and you make all your animals and your wise men don't know how it feels. Yes. Oh, to be thick as the thank you. Thank you kindly.
Well, thank you kindly. Thank you kindly for tuning in tonight. Paranormal Geeks Radio. The guest tonight is Jeff Mudgett, author of Bloodstains, the story of his great-great-grandfather, Herman Webster, also known as Henry H. Holmes. But coming back from this break would be a good time to give away the last ticket for the night, and then we'll just let Jeff have the last half hour or so. And so what we're going to do is the first caller that can call in and tell us the intro song that I used tonight, call in, and the first caller is going to win that ticket to Mid-South. So the number is 1-347-826-9996. That's 1-347-826-9996. The intro song that I used tonight for the show. That ought to keep people listening to the show, I hope. We'll see. Nobody yet. When I'll tell you what, Jeff, we'll go ahead and just start this off, and when we do get the caller, we'll just hop in here and get their information. Where would you like to pick up where we left off?
Well, I tell you, I don't know your listeners if they want a very credible a review of Bloodstains. We just it came out yesterday on the Huffington Post, which is one of the biggest in the country. Roger Marsh did the review on Bloodstains and posted it with his story about our Jack the Ripper evidence and H.H. Holmes and my discovering who I was. But if your listeners get a chance, go to the Huffington Post and search up Roger Marsh, and the review is quite excellent. I'm very proud of it. But
yeah, I had it. I found it on Facebook this morning, and I reposted it, and then Sharon Day got a hold of me and said she just spoke to you, or a message from you, and told me about it. And I said, yeah, I already posted it, and now I'm trying to find it again. And if I find it here, I will put it in the chat. Good. But yeah, that was very, very good. That was very good.
If you go to the Bloodstains Facebook page, just Bloodstains, I've got it up there a couple of times. You can grab it from there if you want it. So. Okay.
I'll grab it. I'll go over there and do that here in a minute. I'm afraid clicking around all these different links, I'm going to lose the show. And
we don't want.
No, last week's show was. I guess there was a hacker in. Something happened real bad with Blog Talk Radio last week, and during our show, and everything just kind of died. The guests had trouble calling in, and it was a real mess. Anybody? Oh, there it is. Thank you very much. That's we now have it up on the chat.
Okay. It's actually Roger did a great job. It's he's their number one reviewer, and to have him do your book is quite an honor, especially when you're self-published like I am. They don't do many self-published books in the literary world where the publishers still rule. And I was quite proud of what he wrote the book. Yeah, so it was quite amazing, and as I explained on my page today, Jim, not $1 changed hands between him and me for him to read and review my book, which in this world, so much of it has to do with power and influence and money back and forth. You just wouldn't believe it.
I bet. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. Yeah, it was a very, very good review, and we do have it up in the chat right now. So if anybody wants to click on that and read it in the chat or read it off chat. And nobody's called in yet about these tickets. And I'm going to tell the question one more time. If we don't get any takers tonight, we'll just give away these tickets. Are just going to keep rolling over throughout the rest of the year until August when the show or when the event is. But the question for tonight is, what was the theme song what was the song that I used for my intro tonight for the show? Pretty simple. If you were here and let it play for about 8 minutes, and you should have been listening. If you don't, it's your loss. Now you don't get a ticket. So there. They have to tune in next week. Yeah, so there. Well, I'm rough. I'm tough on my guests or on my listeners. By God, they better be listening or they're not going to win. Okay, well, where else would you like to jump to on this tonight? Would you like to talk a little bit about the Jack the Ripper connection?
Sure. Before we do that, I'd love to jump into that. Let me. We offer the book at Amazon on ebook. We tried to keep it a very reasonable price. I think it's like $5 on ebook. And then if you'd like a print copy, you buy it from our webpage, the same website we're discussing for the Jack the Ripper evidence. And if your listeners are interested in a book, Jim, if they put down Paranormal Geeks on their address, I'll have my manager send them a signed copy if they're interested. So. Oh,
wow. Did you hear that, guys? If you order one, and I just put the link up on chat, and it's only $5.99. And if you put, I'm sorry, that is the ebook. Yeah, I'm sorry, my bad. Okay, where do they get the paper one at? Paperback at?
Yeah, I just clicked the link. It's $15.99, but that includes shipping and handling, and it's a reasonable price. But like I say, if they put Paranormal Geek on their address, I'll have my manager send them a signed one.
That sounds great. You hear that, guys? That'd be really nice. That'd be very nice. And I say the Amazon. Okay, so I guess we're gonna get the other link up for the other book too, or for the hardback.
Right.
Yeah, because that's not through Amazon, correct?
No, that's my own. And it's pretty easy to do. The test, Jim, was that a computer illiterate like I am could make it work, and it works for me too.
Okay. All righty. Well, we'll get that going then.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
All right.
But like I say, put the Paranormal Geek in if you want a signed copy, so I'll alert my manager. Okay, so if listeners are back on that home page, have them scroll down to the bottom of that home page, and I'll show them another piece of direct evidence establishing probable cause that Holmes was Jack the Ripper. You'll see. Now, is this the Bloodstains, thebook.com? Go all the way down to the bottom of the home page, yeah.
Okay, all right. Right. Well,
do you see me standing at a podium and there's a screen behind me?
Yes.
All right, that has to do with the handwriting comparisons of Holmes and Jack the Ripper. Let me explain how that came about. I knew that he was in London in 1888 when I wrote the book, but I didn't have anything about this handwriting comparison. About 6 months after I published the book, Jim, a good friend now named Mark Potts, called me and said that for 10 years he'd been working on the comparison of Holmes and the Dear Boss and the From Hell, the famous Jack the Ripper letters. Mm-hmm. He had taken the samples of Holmes's handwriting when he was in prison so that there was no question that it was him. And he had gone to the British Library, and the British Library had given him the name of their expert and allowed her to conduct a comparison between the famous Ripper letters and Holmes's handwriting. She came back with an exact match, which is good. It's an expert opinion of match. But having practiced law in California, Jim, I knew that the Supreme Court had recently outlawed the use of expert opinion in capital cases, because you can get an expert to say yes, it's a match. You can get an expert to say no, it's not a match. It's quite common on murder cases. So what happened was the Department of Justice and the Post Office had hired this outfit at the University of Buffalo to come up with this incredible computer program which would conduct 1 million different spots on each letter and compare the handwriting of two samples and come up with numbers about similarities. So I contacted these people. They were quite happy to help. I ran them the Ripper letters, the best ones I could get, and then the Holmes letters. They ran it through their computers and came back with a bunch of numbers for me. And as you see at the bottom of that home page, Jim, they came up with a number of 97.9% similarity, which is an amazing number. It's higher than you could get right now, Jim, writing two letters and having them run the same two letters through the computer.
If I wrote two letters, same exact letter, mine wouldn't even come back that close. Is that what you're saying?
It's probably around there somewhere, but you're probably going to be under that a little bit. Yeah, it's a wonderful number. It's a number any lawyer would be thrilled with. So I asked these gentlemen, these scientists, would they stand up on national TV with me and state, hey, this is the same handwriting? And they said no, that they had to redo their computer program so that it matches the cursive style more closely that was prevalent at the turn of the century. And they wanted a lot of money for that. Well, that was beyond me. So I was quite happy with that 97.95% similarity number, because when you dig in, and then, you know what, Jim, look at it yourself, or have your listeners look at it on their laptops right now. If you were on my grand jury, Jim, if I swore you in and I presented this evidence establishing probable cause, I would give you the conclusion of the expert match. I would give you the number from this University of Buffalo scientific team. But in the end, Jim, I would ask you, as a normal, reasonable human being, put your eye on it yourself. Look at it right now, Jim, and tell me and our listeners what you see looking at it right now. Just the same comparison.
Well, I see that it's very, 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 very close. I would say it is a match. I don't know how much closer it could be.
Yeah, look at the Y, look at the R's, look at the U's. I mean, you almost have to have a man trying to match that. And when you consider, Jim, those Ripper letters were done in 1888. Okay, these Holmes letters were done. These Holmes letters were done in 1892 or 1893. This isn't a man trying to fool the system. This is two great samples that are tested by a computer. So,
and also psychologically, he wouldn't, in his mind, would he even want to try to fool the system, or would he want everybody to know without actually telling them and make them work for it?
He liked playing with policemen. His IQ was such that he liked to play chess. That's one of the things I try to describe, Jim, when I go on talks about Holmes as being the Ripper. I get a lot of ex-detectives, a lot of policemen, some retired FBI, that get in my face about modus operandi. M.O., the thing we see on TV so much.
Oh, yeah.
And I tell them, hey, guys, you've got to understand, this was a man with one of the highest IQs ever recorded. He would not have committed the two murders the same way, knowing that would have caused him problems as far as detection and arrest. He wouldn't have done that. You've got to get out of that frame of mind that you use to arrest normal people. And that M.O. thing is why Jack the Ripper, in my opinion, Jim, hasn't been solved in 125 years. When we put all our evidence together, I got a call from a retired Scotland Yard investigator who told me, listen, that for decades, they've believed the same thing that I was arguing. The Jack the Ripper was responsible, Jim, for the first 2 or 3 killings, okay? The last 2 or 3 were copycats. And it's because the MO isn't the same. The first 2, when you look at the pathology reports, Jim, this is a surgeon committing these murders. And the pathology doctor stated in the reports, he's removing organs from these females in 4 minutes' time. Okay, the uterus, the liver, the kidney. He's removing organs in 4 minutes' time on a foggy, dark night with his knife and clothes in the way, and he didn't damage any of the bordering organs when he did it, okay?
You and everything was.
You and I couldn't have done that in a million years, Jim. We wouldn't even known what organ we were looking at.
No, you're absolutely right.
So when the Scotland Yard investigator told me that they had for a long time known it was a copycat, the last 2, those 2 murders were committed by this horrible slasher who had not removed organs the same way in any even similarity, and not even close. This wasn't the same killer, and that's why Jack the Ripper has never been solved, because they keep trying to attach all 5 killings to the same man, and it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, they were thinking of, it was someone in royalty. It was one of the, wasn't it a prince or something, or I forgot what it was. There's so many of them, but one of them was in the, and with the royalty there in England.
Yeah, you're very close. One was the royal doctor. That's
okay.
And that's actually a suspect that has a chance of being viable, because the other ones you're talking about, a Polish sailor that went to New York, he couldn't have committed these crimes and removed those organs like that. It's impossible. These pathology reports state not only is this a doctor, but this is a practiced surgeon, Jim. This is someone who does this a lot, and he's doing it in 4 or 5 minutes time in the fog. It's just no way. There's no way. So when you eliminate all the suspects down to someone who could have removed those organs like that, we now have maybe 2, maybe 3, probably 2, and Holmes is right there first on the list. And then when you establish the handwriting, you establish that computer schematic, the fact that I think I know what ship he rode over on from New York to Southampton, which arrived 7 days.
That was my next question. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we think we know what ship he rode over on, and it arrived 7 days before the first killing in Southampton. We also know which universities in London he went to visit in order to try to sell skeletons, which was his business here in the States, remember. So when you start putting these things together, we're starting to, we have a wave building. When I first brought these arguments up, Jim, to the London press, they pretty much laughed me off, and I still don't know why. They have this thing about the Atlantic Ocean being impossible for an American to have been the Ripper, when really they had steamships, Jim, that crossed in 8 days.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's where we are talking. The sailing ships. Well, there were still, but yeah.
Yeah, these were steamships by then.
Right.
Straight across, and they were luxury liners. And he had the money. He liked first class. It wouldn't have been an obstacle at all. And then the fact that they never discovered the killer should give them pause to think that maybe this killer got on a ship and left. And so we're building a wave. We think we have it building, and we think if the world looks at the evidence with an open mind, we've solved it. And what I'm trying to do now, Jim, is get the FBI and Scotland Yard, if they want to spend the money to do it. Because let's face it, you need to have a lot of money to run down evidence these days.
Anymore you do, yeah.
And if they want to do it, which is doubtful, Jim, because I was told by a publisher that Jack the Ripper is $1 billion a year industry.
Well, there's got to be someone out there that would want to put up some money to pay for the DNA and all that.
Well, we need to run the passenger list down on the ship. Okay, we need to run the handwriting down on that. That's very expensive. We need to run the visits to the universities down to try to establish some archives documents proving that he visited there. And then if we establish conclusively that where the world has to agree that he wrote these Ripper letters, the way the postal system worked back then, Jim, it would have been impossible. See, I'll give you what they throw up at me every time, and they're right about this. The fact that he wrote those 2 letters doesn't prove he was Jack the Ripper. It proves he wrote the letters. Okay?
Right.
They're right. They're dead right about that. But the way the postal system worked back then, Jim, he could not have written those 2 letters and not been in London. Okay? So
yeah.
Then we can establish conclusively that Holmes was there at the time, that he had knowledge of the crimes, because there is a book written by one of the early investigators that worked for one of the newspapers, who says that, listen, whoever wrote those 2 letters had an intimate knowledge of these murders that was far beyond anything that was coming out in the papers at the time. Plus, one of the letters was delivered with an organ to one of the newspapers.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, so you're getting close to someone playing a game, and boy, that walks right down the line that Holmes loved to do. He loved to play that. So.
Yep, that sounds. But yeah, the court of law right now, it'd be very close. I mean, it would. There's so much evidence there.
Well, I practice law, and I can tell you this: I can get probable cause to issue a warrant for the arrest of H.H. Holmes for these killings. Now, I don't have enough yet for beyond a reasonable doubt, and that's what I was telling you is required by one of the investigatory agencies with the resources to go further. Now, you and I can discuss him being Jack the Ripper for ages. My book is about the monster here in America who killed hundreds. The Ripper killed 3 or 4. It's not even close. The real story is here in Chicago at that murder castle.
Yeah, it very much is. That's where it all started. That's where he cracked. That's where he started.
No, that was built after the Ripper killings. That was built. He started building that the spring of '89, which was
after. In London. He was in London first, and then started here.
He started. The Ripper was before he started construction of the murder castle. He bought the property in July of 1888. He boarded the ship in August, and he returned to Chicago in December or January after whichever of the murders he committed. But he didn't start. And Jim, living in that area back then, no one started building in the winter in Chicago.
Oh no!
You waited till the spring and the summer to build, and there was no building that winter. So one of the shows I went to, Jim, I had another author challenge me about how Holmes was building the murder castle, and we went back and forth until finally he had to admit, yes, the construction wouldn't have started until that spring of '89.
Oh wow! I don't think I realized. I didn't realize that, and I've gotten a little ways through your book, and it's one of these where I don't want to put it down, but I keep having to have to keep putting it down, and it's very tough to put down. And I'm going to have to order another one now so I can get one signed.
Well, thank you very much. And I tell you what, it's an easy read. My style is short and concise. I don't have the long, flowing, artistic, magical sentences that some of the great writers do. It's more legal, but it's a book that if you pick it up and stick with it, you can finish it in one sit down. It'll people tell me it goes right through them, and they get about halfway through, Jim, and they're terrified. They want to put it down. It's changing the way they think about stuff, but they can't. They have to keep going. And then I try to tell people, listen, stick with the ending. The ending did good for me in my life and how I look at human beings, and I think it will my readers too.
Yeah, because that's what we need. We need something good like that right now, the way things are going in the United States and in the whole world on this planet. The book is Bloodstains, and I'm going to put up the Amazon link right now back up on chat. Are you planning on coming back to the Chicago area in the near future?
You know what? I'm waiting right now to see if I'm going to get a table at the literary festival that the Sun-Times puts on. I'm really excited about that. I'm waiting right now. I may get to go on with Dane. You know Dane Ladwig? He's also writing a book about Holmes right now. And we're going to sit down together. He's a great historian, investigator, who also believes Holmes was Jack the Ripper, and he's working the evidence much more in a minute detail than I did, and I can't wait to see his finished product. He's a very good writer. But we may sit down at the table at the literary festival in June together, and we're waiting to see if we have one of the final tables. We got our application in a little late.
Well, if you do, please let me know, because I would love to make the trip up there, and I'd love to meet you. I think it'd be I'd really like to meet you and just get to shake your hand, because I just admire your work. I have for quite a long time. Well, your book's been out, it came out in 90. It didn't come out in 99. What am I thinking, 99?
No, it's out. You're thinking Devil White City. I've been out about a year and a half.
Yeah, you came out in 2011. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
And we'll have to go
grab some. I'm sorry, go on.
We'll have to go get a beer together, Jim, and call ourselves Paranormal Geeks. You know what? Before we go off tonight, I wanted to ask you, how did you come up with that title, my friend? How did you do that?
Actually, it's not my title. Sharon Day wrote a book, and it's called Paranormal Geeks, and it's all about everything paranormal geekdom from H.H. Holmes to Bigfoot to UFOs to ghosts to everything. I mean, I've had guests on for UFOs. Like we were talking earlier, one of the answers to the question was Betty and Barney Hill. It was one of the first documented UFO abduction cases, and I had Betty and Barney Hill's niece on the show, and she talked about the alien abductions. I got her name's Kathleen Martin. I have Ken Gerard coming on next month, and Sean Stone from the thing with that I shouldn't even have said his name. Oliver Stone's son. He was on a show with Jesse Ventura. About they go around and check things. So I have a little bit of I try to have a little bit of everything on this show, and but anyway, it's her book. She asked me if she heard me on another show. She asked me if I would like to have my own show. I was a co-host, and I said sure. And she says, great, you can use my name. She says you have my full backing. But that's Sharon Day. She's the author, and she wrote Paranormal Geeks and a bunch of other good books too on zombies. She's a zombie UFO Bigfoot ghost person. so that's how it came. That's how it came about.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I like the title. I go on a lot of the shows, and this is one of my favorites so far.
Well, thank you very much. I actually had a guest turn me down because her manager said that she didn't like the name, and I said, "What? You didn't like the paranormal? What is it? Is that what scared him away?" No, it was the geeks, and I didn't even ask her to explain. But that's just one person, and I'm working on guests for August right now, so it doesn't really matter. And I have someone here in the chat, Amelia Scazzari. She ordered your book already. She just ordered your book.
Make sure she puts Paranormal Geek down so I can get her a signed one.
Yep. Did you hear that, Amelia? Make sure that you put down Paranormal Geeks. I don't know. She says she did. I did put it on. Okay.
Okay. I'll call my manager as soon as we're done.
Sweet. Okay, and I'll probably get mine. If she put it in the in selling instructions.
Yeah, on your address. Just put it on your address. We'll pick it up.
Okay. Okay. From now on, everybody, just put it on your address, and they'll just grab it off of there. But Jeff, I want to thank you very much. We got like 6 minutes left. I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. I want to thank you very much for being on tonight. It's been a great show. I've really enjoyed talking to you. I've learned a lot. I thought I knew a little bit about this. I was wrong.
Hey, Jim, I can tell you, I want to apologize for all the interrupting I did with you, but that's what happens when I'm enjoying myself on a show and I get excited. I can't wait to get in there and I interrupt the host, so I apologize.
Oh, no. Don't shoot. Good Lord, don't worry about that. But also it's good because the stuff that I've read from not only from your book but from other books might not even be true, or stuff taken out of context, or just everything just drawn out of context, I guess is what I just like to say. But no, don't worry about that. It's been a great show, and I say, let me know when you're going to be up there in Chicago. It'll be worth hopping on Amtrak or driving up there to meet you and having that beer.
And I tell you what, Jim, I'm going to give you a little secret. Tomorrow I ought to find out, and I don't want you telling anybody, okay?
I won't tell nobody.
Tomorrow I ought to find out if Hollywood's buying the book and they're going to make a movie from it. So I'm pretty excited and pins and needles about tomorrow. So
that would be fantastic. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm excited.
Well, I wish you luck.
If they do, I'll drop a note on your Facebook page, and then so you'll know as soon as I do, almost. Okay?
Please do. That would be great. And if you get to meet Leonardo DiCaprio, tell him I said hi.
I will. I'll say.
Yeah, we go way back.
I'll ask him if he wants to join the Paranormal Geeks.
Yes, please do. That'd be great. That would be great. Well, you have a good night, my friend.
I had a great time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yep.
Okay, well, very good show tonight. That was so Johnny Depp for the role. Come on. Johnny Depp. What's funny about Johnny Depp, though, he can play so many. This is on, for you that don't know, this is on chat. Amelia just put up Johnny Depp for the role. He's a very, very, I'm not a big fan of his. I don't have his poster, taped to my ceiling in my bedroom. But I'm not that big of a fan of his, but I really like his Pirates stuff. And it's not about his looks. I know. But he's an actor that can cover so many different roles. He's very versatile, very versatile actor. I'm not a big fan of his. I think first movie I ever saw him in, wasn't he in Eating Gilbert Grape or something like that? and or something like that. And that was another odd show that I watched just to figure out what the hell What's Eating Gilbert Grape is all about. I guess that's what you do, put an interesting name on something and get people to listen, like Paranormal Geeks. Yeah, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Okay, we can play this game all night by putting up, and 21 Jump Street. Yeah, we're done playing this game. The game is over. We're not playing name Johnny Depp movies anymore. Well, guys, the show is just about over. I have about 2 minutes left. Christina, if you'd like to come on for this last couple minutes and say goodbye. First off, I want to thank you very much for helping us out tonight. Even though nobody knew the question to the last trivia question.
It happens.
Well, I mean, people are going to have to listen, damn it. From beginning to end.
Mhm.
So, like next week's trivia question will be, what was the topic of the last 5 minutes of last week's show? And everybody's going to think, oh, Jack the Ripper. No, it was Johnny Depp. So we'll just have them all over the place. But I want to thank Christina Rake for helping me tonight. My daughter has come under some other obligations where she can't work on Tuesday nights, and I want to thank her very much. I know she's not listening, but Jessica, I love you, and I miss you being on here. And but Christina will be helping me out when I do the live show down in Ashmore next week or 2 weeks. Hopefully she'll be running the board, and I'll just be calling in and doing interviews for people down there. But anything you'd like to say tonight, Christina?
Well, I just like to thank everybody, and I thought this was wonderful, and I just bought Jeff's book too. So I really recommend it. Just listening to him made me, I have to have this book, and I want it signed. So excellent price, and I've got to see what he did with this.
And do you have that website? Did you stick that website up?
Sure, with the Huffington Post or the Purchase. Hold on.
The Purchase one. That one, yeah. Because I did buy it. I bought it last year, but I'd like to go ahead and get another one. You know what? I could just take this one up and have him sign it